Hey, good afternoon. I'm Scot Ferrell. Thank you so much for joining me. Got an interesting topic today for our Facebook Live. Now, if you're just joining us, I'm going to tell you how to find me. Every single Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern Standard, you can find me here on Facebook for Facebook Live. Topics change. Sometimes I interview my friends. Sometimes I cover national things. Sometimes I talk about parenting. I talk about marriage, whatever it is, like the way I used to do my radio show. So we've since I'm not on the radio currently, we're using this as my radio platform. But thank you so much for joining me. If you need to find out who I am, what I talk about, what I stand for, go by my website, scotferrell.com, or if you have a comment, you can send it to show@scotferrell.com. Notice that my name's spelled with one T. That always helps out. And no, please don't confuse me with the other Scotty Ferrell. He does NHL hockey and works with ESPN, I think still, or CBS Radio. People used to get us confused in the Atlanta area, and it added to some frustration for me because a lot of people didn't like him and wanted to take it out on me, and then they realized that our voices sound nothing alike. All right, let's get to today's topic. A warning for the UGA football program. Recently, they did a video. They released it out on Twitter, I believe. Someone sent it to me, wanted to know if I had seen it. It's a woke video, as people would like to say. It's basically some of the football players, some of the coaches expressing their support for Black Lives Matter. Now, today I'm going to digest or break down why that's probably a bad idea. And I'm going to break out the categories of it. So I'm going to go through let's go through this. I'm a pastor. So I'm going to go through the spiritual aspect of this. I'm going to go through the biological and behavioral aspects of supporting this and who we are as people. I'm going to go through the business aspect, and then I'm going to handle the social. So that's four things that I'm going to cover during our time. Now, let me go ahead and give you a disclaimer. Why am I covering UGA football? Well, kind of have to. Part of being married. My wife, my brother-in-law, and my father-in-law all went to the University of Georgia. So am I a Bulldog fan? Not really. Now, I've had several players go and play there, but it's a beautiful campus. I'm a North Carolina fan. I'm from North Carolina. I like Chapel Hill, and Athens reminds me of Chapel Hill in some ways. So it's a pretty university, nice folks. I like the state of Georgia. I've lived here for over 23 years, so it's kind of in the blood. So happy wife, happy life. If you want to have a happy marriage, you pull for your wife's ball team. So that's why we've always gone to Georgia games. And if I want basketball, I remind my wife that ACC is where basketball is played. And then we go back to Chapel Hill and we go watch real basketball. Little joke there, but if you're from Carolina, you actually know what I'm talking about. Where did I go? So we'll put the disclaimer out. No, I did not go to Chapel Hill. I went back later and I attended three universities or three schools. UNCG, High Point University, and I from Greensboro College. So that's my thing. Now, University of Georgia football program. Let's go over some things. Black Lives Matter would signify that Black Lives Matter. Now, that would also signify that other lives probably don't. Now, I'm making an overstatement there to make a point. Well, let's look at race in general. Let's look at does a Black Life matter more than me? I'm Irish. My wife's Cherokee Indian. So does a Black life matter more than my life, her life, or someone from Asia or from Latin America or someone from Iceland? Or let's digest this. So first, as I'm a pastor, I'm going to have to look at race the way God would look at it. And I'm going to give you two scripture references. Yes, I'm a pastor. I'm starting with morality first. Get over it. All right. First scripture, write this down. This is what I say at church. Romans 2:11. Romans 2:11, summarized version here. God's no respecter of person, because when he made us in his image, this was not God's image. I like to say this is perfection, but it's not. Actually, it's my wife I say is perfection, but she's not either. We're made in his spiritual image. We're spirit, soul, and body. We're three parts as humans. So we were rated in his image spiritually. Well, that makes him no respecter of pigment. So he's no respecter of pigment. And along with that, he also gave us all the same measure of faith, and that's Romans 12:3. So if I got into this life, I came out of the birth canal, and he's not going to respect me because of my race. I'm just his child, period. And then once I receive Christ, his son, I'm going to receive the exact same measure of faith that everybody else did. So that means I've got to develop my faith. That means we're all on an even playing field, so to speak. So we all come out of the birth canal with the same opportunity to serve him and be successful, because once I receive his power, I'm no longer functioning on society's ideas or norms. I'm now functioning on God's norms and heaven's norms. So now, since I've received the power of Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit, Now, nothing can defeat me. Lucifer can't beat me. People can't beat me. Some slogan can't beat me. The media can't beat me. I am all powerful through him. And so from a spiritual aspect, God doesn't see any difference. We're all his children. He wants us to love each other. He loves us. And once we're on the team with Jesus, we all have to see each other as people. So now instead of being a white guy, black guy, Latin guy, you're my brother. You're my sister. You no longer have a pigment. Forgot the logo. You no longer have a pigment attached to you. Now, of course, we're going to go, all right, how do you describe somebody in a parking lot that you got to meet? Okay, well, I'm the tall black or I'm the short white guy. Okay, that's different. That's what I'm talking about. But in Norm, you're my brother. It doesn't matter what this pigmentation says. You're my brother. Okay, so that's the spiritual aspect of this. Now let's get to the biological behavior. Why am I going so fast? Because I only have so much time on Facebook Live. Biological behavioral. All right, so let's break down race again, just from a biology standpoint. You learned this in 9th or 10th grade biology. If you went to high school in the United States, chances are you learned it a whole lot sooner if you're in Europe or Asia. It depends on where you were and what you were taught. Homo sapien. Okay, let's say it again. Primate Homo sapien. There we go. 5 and 5. We're Homo sapiens. That means we're identical. Again, let's look at this. Spiritually, same, connected to God. Same faith. We all receive the same measure of faith, Romans. And now that we're all biologically the same. So if you go to med school, they don't have a Latin guy, an Asian guy, a white guy, and a black guy. That guy's different than this guy. It's not like being a small or large animal vet, right? You don't have to memorize different animals. One person. So we only have one. Look at that one. We only have one person to operate on. So thank God, man. It'd be really tough in medical school if we all had plumbing. But since we have heart, lungs, everything there, and we have the same blood, looks the same, then what's the problem? So, all right, so now we're still same, right? We're still Homo sapiens. Primates. We still have the same organs, same heart, same brain, same function of blood, same 75 trillion cells that replicate. Let me see. The only difference is our skin pigmentation. Now, let's look at the biology of this. Why do certain people have more fast twitch muscle, and why do some people have, slow twitch or whatever you want to call it? I'm not going to give a physiology seminar today, but and why is my skin, I'm Irish, so that would be a cold climate. Why is my skin whiter? Well, let's look at that. Well, when we were made, it's always about origin. Your original location, you've got to be suited to these specifics of your environment. So let's look at me. I can pick on me here. I'm Irish. Man, it's cold in Ireland. Well, white skin helps me adapt to a cold climate. Thick hair. My build, I've got 53 shoulders, even though I'm only 5'7.5". That's genetics right there for me. So I'm a large guy and a shorter frame, which made me good for powerlifting. And I was also fast. So not anymore. It takes me 4.5 seconds just to get out of the chair. So that speed's gone. But let's look at someone who's from Africa. Darker climate, darker skin, adapted to heat, more fast twitch muscle, adapted to the surroundings or environment for survival. Now, did God mean for us to stay where we were? Of course not. He said, be fruitful, multiply, etc. You can't be fruitful and multiply if you stay in the same place. You had to get out and get around. So now that we know that physically, from a biological standpoint, we're identical. If you cut us open and you cover us up, you don't know if the guy's black, white, Asian, Latin, whatever the race is. So now biologically, we're the same. Okay, so again, I don't understand why we want to be treated differently. So that's biology. So skin pigmentation means absolutely nothing, and skin pigmentation cannot dictate your success. Now that we've handled the biology, let's go to the behavioral issues. All right, I teach behavior. That's what I do. That's what my degree's in, and I've done it for 30 some odd years now. I got more training than I could possibly talk about, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Here's what I will tell you, and this is something you learn either in a first-year psych class or you get it after you get out of college. All human programming is done from 0 to 7. So whatever's dumped into us from the external, the 5 senses, so you learn through your 5 senses, it's automatically programmed into you. That's why I tell people, once you've got the baby there, be careful what you say, what you do, what you feel, what they smell, because that will stay with them. Okay, that being said, imagine for the first 7 years, every single person that touches your 5 senses, It's automatically logged in you. Why am I bringing the behavior up? Well, hate is taught. Very simple. Well, what's Black Lives Matter's slogan? Most of the time, it's kill whitey, hate other people, black people are mistreated, whatever it is. And I've heard people say this. So again, I was around in 1968, the first time this guy tried. So didn't work then, not going to work now. But now that we know that we're products of our programming, whatever we learn in that first 7 years, we're going to carry with us through life if we don't reprogram who we are. I teach people how to do that. So now the way people are acting in the streets, or the way people act towards someone of another race or another gender or sexual orientation, it's been programmed into them. So I always tell people, when you hire a teenager, are you really hiring the teenager, or are you hiring mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, aunt and uncle, and the daycare worker and their teachers? And they look at me puzzled, and I'm like, well, think about that. And I wrote this in my last book, It's Not Them, It's You. Why did I write a book about personal responsibility in the workplace? Yeah. So you're really hiring somebody's programming, not them. Now, 40s, 50s, and 60s, you're hiring them connected with their programming, or if they've taken the time to fix that, now you're hiring who they are. So knowing that, we see all these kids in the streets, or we see the woke athletes at the University of Georgia. They're playing out their programming. Look at me. I was not taught to hate people of other races. Now, I taught to dislike lazy people and hippies. Now I look like a hippie. My dad didn't like hippies because his philosophy was all I did was smoke dope and not work. It came back to being lazy again with my dad. And my aunt told me that if he saw my hair now, it would break his heart. So Pop's been dead over 30 years, so I don't have to worry about that. But the mentality was, if you're lazy, we don't like you. Now, I grew up in a farming community where black, white, didn't matter. We're all country boys. We all did the same thing. We hunt, fish, and like muscle cars. Very simple. Native American, everybody, we were all the same. We all grew up in a rural area. We rode the same school bus, and they were all my friends. And to this day, they're still my friends. And on top of that, with me, I was very fortunate. A lady named Jacqueline and Anna took care of me. They were both black. So I grew up thinking that Aunt Jemima owned the company. I really did. I always thought, I was like, wow, she's amazing. She started that company, and she's, nobody ever told me that she didn't start the company. And I'm the kid who watched Soul Train instead of American Bandstand because I thought Dark and Lovely was the way to go. Because being raised with someone who was black, who held me and loved me and kissed me, I just thought that black women were the greatest thing on the planet. I mean, big lips, big butts. Sir Mix-a-Lot got me right, man. He wrote the theme song of my life. So for behaviorally, I was taught that all people were equal. All people were good, and women, black, white, that didn't matter, were all beautiful because the ladies I loved just happened to be black. And my first love, so to speak, when I was a little boy was a black girl. And then by the time I got through high school, there was one more who she will always remain nameless. And if you look at my dating track record, I've dated as many black girls as black guys have. I've probably dated more black girls than a lot of black athletes have. So when I see the world, I don't see that through skin pigmentation. I see that through your heart, and I see that through who you are as a person. So me socially was programmed not to see race. It's all people. Now, if you're a jerk, if you got a loud mouth, if you're lazy, that's a whole different story, because I'm always going to categorize you as a person, not a skin pigment. So let's look at this behaviorally. So if you dislike someone of another race, chances are in your home environment or your extended environment, you were taught to dislike someone based on the color of their skin or their skin pigment, which is idiotic. But it does happen. I see it played out. Oh boy. Well, my theology was, when I was behaviorally wanted to date a black girl, I have to go where black girls are. Okay, where are they normally located? Traditional black colleges. To me, that was like buffet. I'm like, if I want to date a black girl, I just go where they are. So I'll go to a traditional black college. Oh boy, you want to hear venom? You want to hear bad language? You want to hear death threats? You want to hear all that connected to it? Let the Irish white guy who's milky white, who can't get a tan, show up on a traditional black college trying to pick up girls. Didn't go well. No, I always went out with black girls. It didn't matter. I don't care what anybody says. This is what I like. I'm going to date you. If you like me, we've consented to date, and we're going to go have some fun, right? We're going to have dinner. We're going to talk, whatever. That's how I conducted my life. I didn't really care what people chattered in my ear. I don't care how you feel. You're an idiot. It's not my fault. Your parents taught you to hate me because I'm white. Again, I didn't hate people, and I didn't see people who were black mistreating me. I saw idiots who don't know any better mistreating me. Now, if you got in my face, I was going to put you down. Now, I'm the type guy that if you get in my face, I'm going to knock you out. And yes, I have been jumped multiple times by gangs of black guys. And here's my philosophy. If you take out the leader, they'll run. And this is with anybody. Jack Reacher, it's funny to watch his movies because that's his philosophy. So I'd always go, who's in charge here? And I put him to sleep. You put the guy to sleep, everybody else leaves. This has happened to me 2 or 3 times. I've had multiple concussions, so I can't remember every single time, but that's part of it. So let's look at this from a behavioral standpoint. Now, remember, we got spiritual, biological, behavioral, and I'll get to business in a second. So let's break this down behaviorally. 13% of our population is black, or whatever they want to call it. That's a government thing. Now, 50% of all crimes conducted by black people. Really? Is it really conducted by black people? Can a skin pigmentation really break the law? Well, no, that's ludicrous. Now, my question's always been, all right, so black people are 13% of the population and 50% of all crimes done by black people. Well, since a skin pigmentation can't do that, man, if it could, man, that's just amazing behaviorally. Then what's the answer? Oh, again, it goes back to environment. The number one reason why kids hate or anybody hates or white hate, black hate, Latin hate, whatever it is the environment they grew up in. What's the number one cause of all the problems in the United States right now? Number one cause, the breakdown of the nuclear family. What do I mean? Mom and dad and kids. Let me break down some statistics for you. Let me break these down because this is also social, but it's behavioral. When 78 to 79% of all black kids are born out of wedlock, Latin kids, I always try to get the latest statistics from the government. That's where I get them because what goods are going to get non-government statistics. I think that's in the 60s. And I think white now, out of wedlock white kids are somewhere around 60%, if I read the last statistics. So 60 to 80% across the board, out of wedlock. What do you expect to happen? You've got young black males growing up without fathers. And sometimes the mothers work, sometimes they don't. But you got mama, she's got kids, she's got to get food on the table. She can either work or take care of the kid. I mean, come on. I help so many single mothers. And if you look at the data for the United States, about 12.5 million single mothers right now in the United States reported. It's probably somewhere around 20 million. So we've got that many single mothers with single kids growing up in an environment without love, without nurturing, without any comforts, with anybody to say no, with anybody to teach them how to act, what to do, how to conduct yourself, how to dream, how to build something, why academics is very important. That's gone. What do we expect? I've always told people don't break the law because of their skin color. That's idiotic. Black people don't break the law. People do. But why? You ever ask these kids? It's like, well, why'd you do it? I used to ask kids this all the time because I worked with juvenile delinquents for almost 30 years now. Now I still do. I just do it as a pastor. Why'd you do it? Well, as we pull back the layers, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of abuse. Several have been sexually abused. Some have been molested. Some have been just thrown down on the street. But it always comes back to absence of the family. Okay, I didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have anybody to love me. You got an absence of love, people will detach. And that's what we have here is an absence of love. Love during the formative years when it really mattered. We look at experiments all the time with people that, especially in Russia, kids that weren't held, weren't loved, weren't taken care of the first 2 years. And they have problems attaching after that. That's all true. You can get that off any website, a psychological website if you want to. But so now that we've established that God sees us no different, we're Homo sapiens, so we're no different. The only difference is it's not our skin pigmentation, but our orientation to our environment and our world. So from 0 to 7, we don't all grow up in the same environment. So it still has nothing to do with race. Everybody's getting this, right? Everybody understands that it's still got nothing to do with race. So if it has nothing to do with race from a behavioral standpoint, spiritual standpoint, or biological standpoint, then why do we still make it about race? That's always been my question. Now, always remember, your enemy here, the boogeyman, is politicians. See, politicians, I don't treat as people because they're not, because they'll cheat and steal and do whatever it takes to stay in control. So keep that in mind as we go through this. Now, let's go to the business aspects. I got some of my notes. I'm not ignoring you. Let's go to the business aspect of this, okay? So let's say I'm just going to pick up a company now. Let's say I own a dry cleaners, because I go to cleaners, and the lady that takes care of me is lovely. It's called Bell's Cleaners here in Gainesville, Georgia. If you need a cleaners, they're wonderful. They don't pay me to do that. They just take care of my shirts. So I own a cleaners. And every time you come into my store, I say, thanks so much. How can I help you? And I make sure that whatever you give me, I take pristine care of. And by the time I'm done with your order, I give it back to you exactly the way you expected it. And if anything goes wrong, I handled it immediately. That way, I don't have to go out and get new customers. You'll go get them for me, because as we know, if you look at any stats, you can look this up again on any website. One happy customer will go out and tell everybody they know. So the average happy customer will tell 5 to 10 people. The average unhappy customer will tell at least 20. And then go on Facebook and bash you. And then get on every social media platform in the world and bash you. Happy customers just tell the intimate circle. They don't normally go on Yelp or anywhere and go, man, it was a great experience today. As always, thank you so much. But unhappy customers will tell the world. All right, so let's look at the UGA video, the football video, from a business standpoint. I watched the whole video. It infuriated me that, for one, a head coach of a university who should know better, who's had biology and who's claims to be a good man and understand people from a business standpoint. Now, what I like to say that college sports is not a business. I'm not naive. Come on, man. I used to coach high school basketball for years, and I coached AAU basketball. I know what the deal is, and it generates millions of dollars for everybody, so to speak. So let's look at this from a business standpoint. UGA football as a company, right? So UGA football brings in, good grief, $100 million a year. I don't know what the actual figure is. I'm looking kind of at Alabama's program and transferring over to Georgia, because I live in Georgia and I know how crazy people are for football here. I always make the joke, if we had a table where Jesus was signing books and Herschel Walker was signing books, who would have the most people in line? Yeah, Herschel Walker. Okay. So where I'm coming from with Georgia here. So that's always been my joke since I got here. Now in North Carolina, it would be Coach K or Dean Smith. So either or. But since business, you've just made a video telling your white client, your Asian client, your Latin client, your Icelandic client, your French client, your German client, some ethnic parts of Africa clients, everybody but black. So you've just told every one of your clients that they don't matter. Okay, well, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. It's not a good business move, because if I own a cleaners, I don't care what race is, because, money's green, man. So if you're green, if you have green in your pocket, bring it close to me, man. I'll take care of it. So what you're telling your client from a purely business standpoint is, if you're not black, your life doesn't matter. You don't matter. And we don't care what you think, what you feel, what your philosophical opinion is of what we're doing. We don't care. We're going to say that Black Lives Matter. So let's look at a big business standpoint here. What is the organization Black Lives Matter? Well, it started by, from all accounts, I actually met with somebody who's connected to it one time a few years ago. Started by a few lesbians who hate men, hate God, hate Jesus, hate white people, hate anybody but black people. Okay, so now we know where the hate comes from. And now I got the stats here. So from a business standpoint, you've just told your UGA graduates or people supportive of your football program that they don't matter. In addition to, this is what you're going to back up. A guy named Jacob Blake, we know that the University of South Carolina marched yesterday against our practice. The guy was a gangbanging rapist who had a weapon on him when somebody shot him. Now, you're looking at somebody who used to be a juvenile delinquent. I was an alcoholic drug addict, and I can't count how many times that police officers have been on my back or just pulled me over because I looked suspicious, which I did, or because I was breaking the law, or how many times I've been in the backseat of a patrol car, or how many times people pull guns on me. That didn't make me special, because people had done that to me. So now we have a guy who had just committed rape, was getting ready to get arrested, and shot and killed because he had a weapon. Justifiable. But now we're going to go march and burn stuff down for this guy. How about all the little black kids that get killed in Chicago every single week? How about the little black boy that killed in a drive-by this past week? See, do Black Lives matter, or do the ones that your puppet masters say matter? See, I'm confused here, because if all Black Lives matter from a business standpoint, in Chicago this week, demanding that mayor do something about the violence in the black neighborhood. But all Black lives don't matter because you're out killing and pillaging, destroying things. Oh, that's right, you're destroying black neighborhoods too. So what does matter? Now, from a business standpoint, your client's going to have a problem with that, because you've just told me I'm white and I don't matter. You've also just told me that since I don't matter, my money doesn't matter. So let's look at my family. My family, my father-in-law had season tickets for 40 some odd years. He let him go last year because he's gotten a little old, doesn't really want to go anymore. And my wife, we were getting ready to get our season tickets. We were going to do basketball, football, and baseball because she's a UGA grad, and it's a fun experience if you've never been to an SEC game. We're not going to do that anymore. As a matter of fact, we're never sending another dime to the University of Georgia. Now, every single ticket holder that I know has also canceled their season tickets for football. If you don't know anything about sports, football is the generator of income, especially if you're in the SEC, because SEC football is actually wonderful. I can say that, and I'm not a fan. But the game day experience is phenomenal. It's fun. So from a business standpoint, though, you've just told me, the client, and everybody with every skin tone pigment but black, that our money doesn't matter, our attendance doesn't matter, our purchasing all your merchandise doesn't matter, that if I'm brought on campus, I should be treated like a second-class citizen because I'm white. I should kowtow to whatever you want because you're black. That's not going to work. That doesn't work from a business standpoint, and here's why. Clients come to you because you offer a service, and the service for the client experience is they get to watch a football game. Now, because they get to watch a football game, they give hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They buy everything that they can buy: jerseys, sweatshirts, shoes, whatever. They buy hot dogs, hamburgers, French fries, whatever. And then on top of it, once you go to the pros, because you're a Bulldog, a Georgia guy, they'll continue to support you and buy your jersey. So they follow you for as long as your career. And at the end of that career, they'll give you a job, because the Bulldog Nation, I have to say, I was impressed. The Bulldog Nation looks after its people. That's kind of like what I like about the Georgia family, actually. The Bulldog family takes that commitment to you seriously. So even though I'm not an overly Georgia fan, I can say that's real. I thought it was a bunch of hokum when I moved here. But after marrying a Georgia grad and being around the Georgia people, good people take care of good people. And the color they see in Georgia is red and black, not black skin. But did you graduate from Georgia? Then we're going to take care of you. Okay. So now, because only Black Lives Matter, you're going to lose the opportunity to matter to the red and black, because you only saw one pigment, black. You didn't see the red or the white that went with that uniform. If that's the case, you're telling your entire client base that's not black, the only one that matters. So now you've placed the entire support of the football program, the university, all the jersey sales, all the shoe sales, all the sock sales, all the concession sales, everything that's connected to the University of Georgia, you place solely on the backs of black people. Is that what you really wanted by saying, I don't care what your client experience is, I don't care how you feel, I don't care if you give us more, we're going to back this? That'd be like me at the cleaners going, all right, Monday's Black Day, Tuesday's White Day, Wednesday Day, Thursday Chinese, and then let's go kind of mixture of European-esque on Friday. And then Saturday we're going to be closed. Yeah. How long would I stay in business? I wouldn't. Yeah. I would be like, please, somebody bring that green back to me. So why would a coach, Kirby Smart, I don't know what kind of guy Kirby is. Never met him. I heard he was a phenomenal football player at Georgia. And I hear he's a good football X and O guy. Outside of that, I mean, I can't speak to it. Never met him. Now, Kirby and Nick Saban and a few other coaches, Coach Cal, have signed on. It's a bad look for you, brother. It's a bad look when you don't tell the people in the locker room they're wrong, because God don't measure us this way. I don't measure us this way. 99% of the population doesn't measure this way. Here's why. I'm going to mix behavioral with business now. Here's what people are concerned about on a daily basis. Therefore, no more. Paying their rent, paying their mortgage, paying their light bill, lights here, computer bill, car payment, putting food on the table, getting the kids through college, getting some retirement put away. They're concerned about their family. And the respite that family had, black, white, Asian, don't matter, was on Saturdays. They got to watch a little football, got some escapism for about 3 hours. And then they got to line y'all's pockets with money, because if you're good, ask Herschel Walker, the Georgia nation's taking care of him. Now, in fairness, Herschel's a phenomenal human being. Now, if you're a jerk, it don't matter. So, because red and black's not gonna matter if you're a jerk. But since they take care of their own, and people idolize athletes, why, I have no idea. I don't. I was a coach and don't, because human. I'm all about what you accomplished. So now, from a business standpoint, the Black Lives Matter video that the University of Georgia did was telling people, don't donate to our school any longer. Don't come to our games any longer. If you do, we're going to treat you like crap because you're not black. And please don't idolize us anymore. And please don't spend any money on my jerseys anymore, because all I'm going to do is spit in your face because you're not black. So let me tell you how this looked from a business standpoint. You have told the average fan that if they're not black, they don't matter and they shouldn't come to the game. All right, that's cool. Then we're not. We're withdrawing all our financial support. My wife's drafting a letter now to let the university know that we will no longer attend any ball games on that university, and we will no longer spend one dime on merchandise, and will no longer ever contribute any money to the university. Now, since you made a business decision, you've forced the fans into a business decision. Much like with my cleaners. If I only have one day a week where I'm going to take care of black people are going to stop coming, because a lot of people can't come on Monday, right? So you force me as a fan to make a decision. Now, let me tell you what happens when I'm forced to make that decision. And me being a former high school coach and dabbling around with the college athletes and understanding what's going on. Here's the consequences, when the social consequences, etc., because you've made the fan make a business decision. Less money's donated. What's that money pay for? That means less scholarships. That means less opportunity. That means skin pigmentation, because you decided that the pigment of your skin is what matters, not the fact that you're a Homo sapien, not the fact that God created you with a spirit, and the fact that God gives us all the same measure of faith, and the fact that when Jesus went to the cross, he made it an equal playing field. So now you have the power of God, so you can accomplish anything regardless of skin pigmentation. The only thing that matters to you now is the color of my skin, so I'm gonna step out. And now, once you leave college, if you do get a scholarship, once everybody withdraws their money, now you can go to the pros. Well, it sounds like NFL is doing the same thing. So now the NFL has also told us that because I'm white, I don't matter, and they don't want my money, and they don't want me to come to the game, and they don't want me to watch, and they don't want me to buy merchandise. Well, if that's the case, where are you going to play after you leave the University of Georgia? If the NFL goes under, what's your next move? Because now that all of you've made a business decision, and all of you decided that there's only one race of fan that matters, and now you've placed all the responsibility of your multi-million-dollar salary on one segment of society, excuse me, how's that going to work out? On top of, from a social business standpoint, now that I understand you as an athlete only see one race as being valid, and also see that you've decided that you're a victim. So you can either be a victim or victorious. You can't be both. So now that you've decided that you're a victim and you have victim status, and the only race that matters is black, what's it going to be like when you go to take a job? Because let's say somebody comes in my cleaners and she's already told me, let's say it's a lady, and she's already told me she hates clothing. I hate clothing. I own a cleaners. I clean people's stuff. I clean people's clothes and their drapes. I can't hire you because you hate clothing, because now you're not going to take care of my customer's stuff. So if you've just told the whole Bulldog Nation that if you're not black, you don't matter, why would anybody with the Bulldog Nation want to hire you that's not black? You create yourself all sort of problems when you align yourself with a skin pigment instead of being a Homo sapien primate. So as long as you're a Homo sapien, we're all human. All right, man, if you can do the job, I'm gonna give you the job. But now that you've told me that I don't matter, and that you hate me, and that you're a victim, And the only way you can get through life, because the white man keeps you down or the police keep you down or somebody's always kept you down. It's got nothing to do with your personal responsibility or any of your choices or any of your programming. I have no reason to hire you. People don't think through the consequences. Here's what's caused this whole business social issue. I told teachers 20 years ago, I used to be a high school teacher, when the new norm was let the kids say what they want, let them believe what they want, and they stop teaching history. And they start letting kids cuss at teachers and disrespect people and all this stuff. And then parents started blaming teachers. They needed an adult to go, shut up, you're an idiot, sit down, shut your mouth, and learn what the truth is. See, that was Kirby's job and Nick's job and Muschamp's job and Coach Cal's job. See, because we've all gone through some bad stuff, man. Let me rattle off mine. Molested. I was identified as a psychopath. I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I've been pulled out of more cars than you can imagine by police officers. I've been picked up for drinking and driving. They let me go. I've been in more violent issues where the police had to show up. I've had a revolver stuck in my face. I've had more cops threaten me than anything. I've been jumped by numerous gangs. All the health issues I've had. I had a terminal illness. I had bipolar disorder. I'm still on the autism spectrum. You want a problem life? Oh, that's right. I have privilege. No, privilege is being able to say what you want, any crime you want, and face and music for it. That privilege. So let's add a little more to the social part of this. My wife's Cherokee Indian. Yeah, that Cherokee Indian. Want to know what happened to the Cherokee Indians? Trail of Tears, 1830, 1850, all because they found a little gold in Dahlonega, Georgia. And the politicians decided they wanted to neutralize the Native Americans. And so they relocated them to another part or to a reservation where they wanted them. 60,000 individuals, 4,000 died on the way. So politicians, not the white man, politicians destroyed the Cherokee Nation. Now, growing up, I wanted to be Native American. I thought Tonto was cool. He had long black hair, he had great skin, he had high cheekbones. I was like, man, I want to look like that, not this, not pasty white. And I go out in the sun and I start to burn. So I thought Tonto was the cool one. But my wife's Cherokee Indian. My brother-in-law teaches Native American history at Clemson University. You want to talk about people that got messed over by the United States government? Native Americans. I've always been pro-Native American. Now I'm married to one. But guess what? Guess how much the victim card my wife plays? Doesn't. Again, she understands that God made us equal. He sees no respecter of person. We're all Homo sapiens, and we were all given the same measure of faith. And through Christ, I can overcome anybody, including Lucifer. And Lucifer's in charge of Black Lives Matter. So let me get this straight here. You just made a video that made 90% of your entire fan base not want to watch you more or donate money, because you got in bed with not black people. Because if Black Lives Mattered, come on, man, they'd be in Chicago, they'd be in all these cities making sure the violence stopped. They would stop burning down buildings. So what does supporting black people have anything to do with Neiman Marcus getting looted and everybody stealing clothes, burning down buildings, doing $8 billion worth of damage? What do we got? 36 people killed and 1,000 police officers injured. Police officers aren't your problem. If you want to see what your problem is, go look in the mirror. Again, I wrote the book, buy it. Feel free to get a copy. It's not them, it's you. Every single problem you encounter in life is a reflection of what you're looking at in the mirror. That would be you. Personal responsibility. We've allowed personal responsibility in the school system. Now, in the school system, we teach nothing but communism and socialism. So we shouldn't expect them to actually know that their feelings don't matter because they got their feelings hurt. So now that we know that personal responsibility is dead, and now we got a whole political party that's on the side of destroying every city out there because they can't control people without chaos. So let me sum up. I've gone a little long here. Now, the video made by the University of Georgia has solidified me never giving another dime to the University of Georgia. Okay, that's set in stone, ain't gonna change. Better hope that the other 90% of your population of clientele doesn't agree with me. In one parting shot, all the schools that I just named are Nike schools. What do they have in common? Nike uses sweatshops in China, a communist government where they kill people who don't believe what they do because it controls religion, all the airwaves and everything that they do and all their wages. Ask a professional athlete in China how they get paid. It ain't $35 million a year. And then if they say something they don't like, they just throw them in jail. So LeBron and University of Georgia, University of Kentucky, University of Alabama are all Nike schools. So don't preach to your base or your clientele or the people spending money on your products when you're allowing the parent sponsor of your university to mistreat kids and women in those factories and sweatshops making 20 cents an hour when they're going to turn around and pay you how many millions of dollars. See, you want to get the facts straight because facts matters, feelings don't. Feelings change every nanosecond of the world, facts don't. Your customer base doesn't care what color you are. If you're a nice person, your customer base will love you. If you're a jerk, they're going to turn on you. Steve McNair, not a Boy Scout by any sense of imagination, but a very nice guy. Seeing his documentary just broke my heart because he is a really nice guy. That's all you can say about him. He's just a nice guy. Made some bad decisions, but a nice guy. People loved him. Wow. Then let's look at somebody else. Barry Bonds, phenomenal athlete. Everybody hated him because he was such a jerk. Okay, if you're a jerk, nobody's going to like you. But if you're a nice guy, everybody's going to love you and they'll stay with you. Tony Dorsett, nice guy. Look at Earl Campbell, still one of my heroes. Great guy. Everybody loves him. He's black. Nobody cares because everybody loves him because he's a nice guy. See, one of the things you have to understand is there's a time to tell your misinformed 18 to 22-year-olds when to shut their mouth and actually get the facts. And just because you're black doesn't mean you have it any tougher than anybody, because you don't, because skin pigment can't have it any tougher. Now, the environment you grew up in, probably difficult. Mine wasn't easy either. 2 alcoholic parents, didn't go well, ended very badly. So when we stop allowing this to make decisions, and then we actually measure man's heart, God's going to measure soul at his heart, and we understand that Homo sapiens are the same. We were created same by God and given the same advantages by God through Christ. When we realize that, then we have something. Keep in mind that the puppet master politicians want us to hate each other, black versus white, Latin versus whoever. It's when I see you as my brother and all races do matter and all lives matter, that nobody can control you any longer. And when you realize that at the end of the day, the only person that can determine whether you succeed or fail is you. And everything rests at your doorstep, then we have something. If we get the illegitimacy rates down from 80% back to maybe 20, let's look back in the early 60s, we didn't have these problems. See, social injustice or social unrest are labels that politicians and the media throw out there. Because if we're same, I'm the same as you, and we love each other, and we're in this together, then what's the problem? What I loved about athletics as a coach and a player was the jersey's the only thing that mattered. Black, white, who cared? You're wearing a blue jersey, he's got a gold jersey. I don't like gold, I like blue. That's our locker room. And the guys were always together. So now there's white guys in the locker room with the black guys, and the white guys are going along because if they don't, they'll lose their scholarship. Don't email me. I know how this game's played. So now you got to make a decision, University of Georgia. And I hear now that CBS is going to play that video. So now we've decided as our home, we're not watching any sports this year. We're out. I stopped watching pro sports years ago anyway. But now we're not going to watch any college football or pro football. Congratulations. You made a business decision, and you've told me, the client, that you don't value me as a client anymore. So I don't value your company or the service you offer for my dollars. So we are officially, as a family this year, we're out. Now, in the event you want to say you're sorry, and then tell everybody that their dollar does matter and that we're all the same as people, because remember, black lives do matter, but all lives matter because God says they do. And black people are my brothers and sisters as I am theirs. So when we can stop using the word black and use people or a guy or woman or dude or lady, then we have something. But see, if I have to address you as a human, then you can't address yourself as a victim. So this is how we fix this. People have to stop claiming victim status. They have to understand that the creation of their own life is the creation of their own behaviors and their own decisions, and then they have to receive consequences for those. Until we fix that, nothing ain't getting fixed. And the longer that universities teach communism, socialism anyway, As long as universities teach them their victims and that white people are evil and that the man is evil, we're not going to get anywhere. So this year, they should, if all economics professors were right, they should see a huge dip in viewership, money donated, and season ticket holders. And the longer that you tell other people, your client, that they don't matter, and you give them the middle finger and tell them to, you know what, off, then they're not coming back. Word of caution. Be careful for what you ask for. You might just get it. Remember, power, life, and death in the tongue. Whatever you speak has to come true in the natural. That's it for me today. If you got any things to say to me, you can send me an email or whatever it is at show@scotferrell.com. Remember, I am a behavioral coach. I do consulting with companies and people and families. I do specialize in parenting and marriage. So go by my website, scotferrell.com. All right, I'm going to sign off for today. Thanks so much for listening to what I had to say about this situation. Remember something. We are the same. God sees us as the same. We all have the same level of faith. We're all primates. We're all Homo sapiens, and God's no respecter of person, and neither am I. I don't care what your skin pigment is. I'm looking more at your heart. All right, take care and have a wonderful Wednesday.